Hey everybody, happy hot Wednesday. It's feeling like down south, feeling like the islands got that little bit of humidity in the air, and I am loving it. I am loving it. Yes, a hot girl summer, baby. Yes, I'm picturing myself with something cold with an umbrella sticking out of it. I don't know about you, but this is my season. I don't like it cold. So get out there, let the sun kiss your face, enjoy it, even if it's for a few minutes. Take that time for yourself. So today, Levies, we are going to be talking about evaluating a claim, evaluating the claim for its truthfulness. And a good example that I thought was one of our former presidents, Richard Nixon, who was up to the last one, the most corrupt president we have had. And I wanted to start by showing you, to give you a little bit about his character, this quote. What does it say? When the president does it, that means it's not illegal. Mm. So he meant that he could do anything, and he tried it. He tried it. The crazy thing is that other people went to prison and some lives were ruined. I'm talking about Watergate. And I want you to look that up. It's very important to know. He was crazy, y'all. So today we are going to evaluate an argument to support a claim, and we are going to read about Richard Nixon. Yeah, he was special. And let me make this screen big, 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 so we can read it. Um, I think this is the wrong page. Let me start on the prior page. One sec. There we go. First page. Couldn't put them together. And this is tiny. Blow this up. So this is a speech that he made in 1952 when he was running for the vice presidency. And I'm going to tell you that he lost. But this is from the so-called checker speech of 1952. Let's start up top. See if can I make it a little bit bigger for you. I just want to be able to see it well. um, when we are connecting claims and evidence, and so when you're reading an argument, you use reason, common sense to evaluate the author's argument and to determine whether the argument is valid. Is this something that rings true, or is it, you know, garbage? So if the reasoning is logical and you can cite specific evidence that supports and connects directly to the author's claim, then you can safely say this is a valid and reasonable argument. So we're going to read this speech. Um, he was something else. My fellow Americans, I come to you tonight as a candidate for the vice presidency and as a man whose honesty and integrity has been questioned. I'm sure that you have read the charges and you have heard it that I, Senator Nixon, took $18,000 from my group of supporters. Let me say this: not a cent of the $18,000 or any other money of that type ever went to me for my personal use. Every penny of it was used to pay for political expenses that I didn't think should be charged to the taxpayers of the United States. It was not a secret fund. I just don't believe in that. And I can say that never, while I have been in the Senate of the United States, as far as the people have contributed to this fund are concerned, have I made a telephone call to an agency, nor have I gone down to an agency on their behalf. Oh, sounds like a bribe. And the records will show that. The records which are in the hands of this administration. So let me tell you in just a word how the Senate office operates. First of all, the senator gets $15,000 a year in salary. He gets enough money for one trip a year, a round trip, for himself and his family between his home in Washington, D.C., And then he gets an allowance to handle the people that work in his office, to handle his mail. And the allowance for my state of California is enough to hire 13 people. And let me say, incidentally, that this allowance is not paid to the senator. It is paid directly to the individuals that the senator puts on his payroll. But all of these people and all of these allowances are for strictly official business. Business. For example, when a constituent like you or I would write in and want you to go down to the VA and get some information about his GI policy, items of that type, for example. But there are other expenses that are not covered by the government. And I think I can best discuss those expenses by asking you some questions. Do you think that when I or any other senator makes a speech and has it printed, we should charge the printing of that speech to the taxpayers? Do you think, for example, that I or any other senator makes a trip to his home state to make a purely political speech, that the cost of that trip we should charge to the taxpayers? Do you think that when a senator makes political broadcasts or political television broadcasts, radio or TV, that the expense of those broadcasts should be charged to the taxpayers? The answer is no. The taxpayers should not be required to finance items which are not official business, but are primarily political business. Let's go to the next page. Well, then, a question arises. You say, how do you pay for these things? How do you do it legally? And there are several ways that it can be done. And incidentally, it is done legally in the United States and in the Congress. The first way is to be a rich man. So I couldn't use that. Another way that is used is to put your wife on the payroll. And let me say, incidentally, that my opponent, my opposite number for the vice presidency of the Democratic ticket, does have his wife on the payroll, and he's had her on the payroll for the past 10 years. So now let me say this, that's his business. And I'm not critical of him for doing that. You will have to pass judgment on that point. But I've never done that for this reason. I have found that there are so many deserving stenographers and secretaries in Washington that needed the work that I just didn't feel it was right to put my wife on the payroll. What are the other ways that these finances can be taken care of? So, who are lawyers? And I happen to be a lawyer. Oh, some who are lawyers, and I'm a lawyer, and I continue to practice law. But I haven't been able to do that. And so I felt the best way to handle these necessary political expenses of getting my message to the American people, and the speeches I made that I had printed for the most part concerned this one message of exposing this administration, the communism in it, the corruption in it. The only way I could do that was to accept the aid which people in my home state of California, who contributed to my campaign and who continued to make these contributions after I was elected, were glad to make. Ooh, saying a mouthful. And let me say that I am proud of the fact that none of them has ever asked me for a special favor. No, they've given me money. I'm proud of the fact that not one of them has ever asked me to vote on a bill other than my own conscience would dictate. And I am proud of the fact that the taxpayers, by subterfuge or otherwise, which is some foolishness, would have never paid one dime for expenses which I thought were political and not be charged to the taxpayers. That's a mouthful, right? That's a big speech to answer to charges that he was taking money in an unethical manner. So, what is his claim? That he hired his wife to manage his political expenses, that he did not use money from supporters for personal expenses, that he received money from the government for political expenses, or he did not receive money from supporters for political expenses. So what is he claiming? He got donors who contributed to his campaign and continued to make contributions after he was elected. And none of them asked him for a special favor. So he used money from political supporters for political expenses, right? So Jay is not right. Did he receive money from the government for political expenses? He's saying no. Did he use money from the government for personal expenses? He's saying he did not. That is his claim, right? That's his answer. Let's see if can I open this with docs? We shall see. Supporting evidence, right? Let's go down here. All right, it's formatted terrible. So, what evidence does he give to support his claim that he used money given to him for speech, for political expenses? A, broadcasts, B, letters, C, records, D, speeches. He uses speeches, right? Oh, this is a mess. I'm sorry, I got to go back to the other formatting because that is so hard to read. Let's go back. That's awful. So he said that he did not use money from supporters for personal, right? That's G. The taxpayers, read this, should not be required to finance items which are not official business, but are primary political. All right, he said that. And what evidence did he give of that? As an example, a fact, an appeal, or supporting reason. What do you think? Is that an example? They shouldn't have to pay for items that are not official government business. Primarily like working on your campaign. The taxpayers should not finance your campaign, right? And this was many years ago, and now we do that. So we're giving this as, is it an emotional appeal, a supporting reason? I think it's D, a supporting reason. He's saying this is one of the things I'm telling you, I'm really a good guy. And then read this sentence. The taxpayers should not be required to finance items which are not official business, but are primarily political business. So what does the word finance mean? Manage large amounts of money, provide funds for someone for a venture, raise the funds to contribute support for a project, or donate resources and monetary affairs of a government. So when he says taxpayers should not be required to finance items, to pay for those items, right? Provide funds for someone or for a venture, a project or something. So it's not, is it managing large amounts of money? Does that make sense there? Not really. Provide funds for someone. That makes sense. Raise the funds to contribute support. Well, we didn't talk about raising funds to finance something where you are gathering the money. Or that's a good answer too. Or donate resources and monetary affairs. Donate resources and money. Which one makes the most sense there? If they're saying, I'm not going to finance your foolishness, I am providing funds to you. Okay, so let's see if it's G. And then 9, what does Nixon provide as evidence to support his claim that he used money given to him for political expenses? Um, he didn't show records. He just has a speech, right, as his evidence. I think he's just saying stuff. And the fact that he's not proof that he avoided getting special favors, um, it makes his argument. Does it make his argument strong or weak? It makes it faulty. It's not logical. Don't have proof. Is it reasonable? No. And is it valid? No, it is not. Let's take a look at the answer key. Okay, we said G. He admitted that he received $18,000, but he claimed to use the money for political and not personal expenses. So the other answers are false. So 6 would be G. And here on 7, he offered his supporting reason for why politicians need contributions from supporters. He believed the government should not finance political business. This statement is not an example of political expenses. It's not a fact, and it doesn't make a strong appeal. So this is his supporting reason. And then 8 is G. And then 9, he said that the records were in the hands of the government, show how he spent the money. So the records that the government held show how he spent the money. The other answer options don't support how he spent the money. And then F, he had no proof that he did not grant special favors. This makes his argument faulty. And the other options would describe a good argument. So let's see what we have here. Take our answers, copy, and let's go back to our page. And I don't know where I can put the answers. I can't do it. Okay. So the first one, which claim he didn't use money from supporters, right? And he received money from the government. He said H. I'm so sorry. I have to go back. I'm not doing this well today. Let's get our answers. Please forgive me. Look. There we go. So our answers are G, D, G, C, F. And we're finishing up right here. Let's blow this all the way up. He did not use money. This is what he's claiming from supporters for personal experiences, correct? And then 7 is D. He said that taxpayers should not be required to finance items which are not official business, but are primarily political. And so this is what? A supporting reason. This is one of his reasons for taking the private money, saying the taxpayers shouldn't do it. And then G, to finance, you are providing funds for someone or for a venture. And then 9, what evidence does he use? He uses financial records or government records that he used the money for political speeches. That answer I had correct, sorry, incorrect. And then 10, that he has no proof. That again is a faulty argument. Now here's a very good tip here at the bottom, and we're going to stop. When a test includes questions related to a passage, it's often helpful to read the questions before the passage. Let's do that from now on. And you can jot down notes or keywords to help you identify the information that you will look for in the passage. That's a very, very good idea. And then as you read the passage, keep the questions in mind and look for the information that you need to answer them correctly. Now, this was difficult because the information was technical. It's more political science, social studies. They're not all words that we use every day, but this test taking tip I think is very good. So that's all we have for today. Um, I will see you all tomorrow. Take care